He's Will Middlebrooks, World Series champion in 2013 with the Red Sox. You also catch him calling games on NESN, of course. Will, appreciate you taking the time to come on the chat. How we doing, man?
Georgie, I'm doing great, man. Look, you're up in Boston freezing. You're in the snow. I'm in Florida, buddy.
Yep, rub it in.
Look at this bronze, all right? This is every day down here.
Hey, and you're just 2 hours north of basically where the Red Sox are holding spring training. Alex Bregman will arrive there soon in a Red Sox uniform. The news breaking late the night before. 3-year, $120 million contract. There's deferred money. There's opt-outs. We'll get to that. What is your reaction to the Red Sox landing Alex Bregman?
Well, first off, so last night they have the Delray Open down here. It's a tennis tournament. And
keep rubbing it in.
One of my neighbors runs it. He's like, hey, we have this bourbon, burgers, and brew competition. Do you and Jenny want to be judges? I'm like, I was built for this. Absolutely. I need that. So we did that. We got home at like 10. I had a lot of everything, put it that way. I'm like, I'm going to bed. Right? I got to wake up early and be a father in the morning. And unfortunately, that was like 15 minutes before the news broke. So I woke up at like 4:30 and like checked my phone to see what time it was and was like, oh my God, like my phone's like blowing up. Like I had like 30 text messages. I had obviously all like the Twitter, like MLB, all these notifications. And I'm like, I'm up. It's 4:28 and I'm up. So I'm like creeping downstairs, like not wake everybody up because I am fired up and I'm like on the laptop. I'm like, because I know I'm going to have a lot of stuff to talk about today, but I'm just so excited, man. I mean, this is, from an ownership perspective and then from a fan perspective and then for us on the media side, it's just great for the front office to lay things out for us and say, this is what we're going to do, and them actually do it, right? And there's a lot that goes into that. So the past couple of years when things didn't happen and these plans didn't work out, they're trying, but the players weren't signing here, right? For whatever reason. And this year it worked with the trade for Crochet, obviously bringing in Walker Buehler. Now this one, getting a comp pick because Pivetta signed with the Padres, so you're getting a good draft pick from that. This worked out to just be a really good offseason for the Boston Red Sox.
Yeah, what I love too, you see that number. Everyone's going overpay. Jeff Passan of ESPN reports that there's actually 12 to 13 million of deferred money. So It makes sense with the payroll that the Red Sox have. But when that deferred money comes in the conversation, Will, that says to me they are doing whatever it takes to get free agents to sign in Boston. I think that's what's huge. What excites you the most about Bregman, seeing him in a Red Sox uniform and slotting into this lineup?
I mean, it's hard to pick one thing. I mean, this guy's
give me your top three. Give me your top 10. I don't care.
This clubhouse has lacked a full-blown leader, right? Trevor Story can be that guy, but he's also played 160 games over 3 seasons, and it's hard to be that voice of men in a clubhouse when you're not there grinding it out every day. And he knows that. He gets that. There's some guys with like Rafi and Duran, and they're not the most vocal guys, and they don't really take the reins on policing a clubhouse of young guys and even some older guys. That's just not who they are. Alex Bregman's him. Like, that's that guy that you need. Obviously, he has the relationship with Alex Cora from their past in Houston, but this guy's a winner. And he's respected across the league since day one when he got to the big leagues. He's been known as one of the hardest workers in the game. He's not a big guy, right? We're not talking like a Dustin Pedroia type here. I'm never going to compare anyone to Dustin Pedroia, but Bregman's not a big guy. But the power and the strength and the ability that you see from him is phenomenal, and you don't just get that. Like, he works for it, and that bleeds into his teammates. And to bring that pedigree and that resume into this clubhouse under that roof with the players that are in there, I feel like can just take some of these guys to the next level. Now, looking at the lineup, if he's hitting behind Rafael Devers and pitchers knowing how good of a pull hitter Bregman is there's no mystery to that. He wants to pull the ball. That's what he does. He pulls the ball in the air, and he has 25 to 30 homers. That's what he can do, especially at Houston, especially at a place like Fenway where it's a short left field. But now Rafi Devers is going to find protection in a lineup, not just from him, but after that too. There's still Casas, there's still Story, there's still Willie Abreu. There's all these good hitters behind him, but Bregman being right behind him in the lineup, Rafi Devers should see that trajectory of his career to tick up a little bit more because he's going to start getting better pitches to hit simply because Alex Bregman's behind him.
Yeah, and I love that you bring up what makes him such a good hitter and fit for Fenway. It's his pull numbers, and that's fine. He is a career 1240 OPS hitting at Fenway. What, when you watch him, Will, and a guy that's hitting the ballpark, what makes him such a good hitter suited for Fenway? And we've literally seen it whenever he's visited in an Astros uniform.
Well, he's a really high bat speed guy. So he likes to we call it getting the head out, getting the head of the bat out in front and making contact, impacting the baseball out in front of him, which means to pull the baseball. Can he hit the ball the other way? Yeah, he's a professional. If he needs to hit the ball on the ground, hit it the other way, move the guy over, great. But this is a guy in the middle of your lineup that he's going to pull the ball to left field and drive him in regardless if he needs to get him over or not. But I think something that really stood out to me when I was looking at his numbers last year, and there were red flags, he's having a down year. He still created 4+ WAR last year. He still hit 26 homers and drove in 75 in a down year. All right, this is still a good player. Still plays really good defense. But what I thought was cool was the league has really started throwing a lot more off speed. We started getting the sweeper and the splits, and how much more. There's no fastball count in baseball anymore. And you look at the progress of Alex Bregman over the last 3 years. His off-speed numbers have just gone up, 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 and you see a lot of off-speed at Fenway Park because guys are scared to give up home runs, so they go to their off-speed. He's hammered off-speed over the last 2 years. I think he had 15 of his 26 homers last year on off-speed pitches. That's going to play at Fenway as well.
Yeah, and it's also a guy that wins every at-bat, is so patient in the box, not going to swing and miss a ton, is just patient. Exactly. Low K rate, that's so important, especially if he's in the 3-4 spot in this lineup. So you mentioned everything about the hitting, and you also mentioned, this is a gold glove winning third baseman. Now, Cora said his skill set suits for second. How do you see it? And I'm talking beyond the opening day roster, beyond the opening day lineup. When it is meaningful games, July, August, how do you see Alex Bregman fitting into this lineup with the Red Sox?
Well, I think health is going to dictate a lot of that. Excuse me, through the grind of 162, injuries happen. They're going to happen. It's inevitable. The guys get hurt. They get dinged up. They miss a week here, a couple weeks there. That's part of it. There's a special group of guys like Jerry Duran who play 160 games, right? They're out there every day. But guys are going to get hurt. I wish I could say they weren't, but Rafael Devers could get dinged up. Well, you got a guy to move over there, right? Like I still really like the idea of Christian Campbell. I love the player he is and the way he looks that he's going to turn into a great big leaguer. Right now, yeah, you start the season with Alex Bregman at second base. That makes the most sense. Rafael Devers is never going to be an above-average third baseman. That's just not who he is. He is there for his bat. He has made strides defensively. He has improved. He got a lot better last year. But metrically, he's never going to grade out more than average. He's probably going to be a tick below just because the lack of range. And a lot of that is graded on how much you can move side to side and cover ground. And that's just not who he is defensively. If you start looking at the domino effect of moving Rafael Devers off of third base, there's a lot of moving pieces, right? You have Tristan Casas, who I think is going to take off this year. Hopefully he's healthy and can give you 150 games because he's a 30-plus home run guy. He's got massive power to all fields. This is a guy we need to see play every day. Still out there on his defense. We'll see what happens with that. He's still a young player developing. Who even knows if Rafael Devers can play first base? So I would rather almost see Rafi DH, but in that same breath, he's making $313 million, and it's really hard to justify paying that much to a one-dimensional, just an offensive player. And a lot of people seem to forget about Masataka Yoshida. If you could move him, great. If you can get something in return, get someone to take some of that salary, great. Mm-hmm. I don't know if that's going to happen. That could have been someone that was in the mix with an Arenado trade. Who knows? We won't know now. That's obviously off the table with bringing Bregman in. But Yoshida actually gives this lineup something that they lack, and that is contact, high contact skill, high bat to ball. He doesn't strike out a lot. This lineup's got a lot of swing and miss, as we all know. That's just part of who they are, but they slug, and they hit a lot of doubles. And with that comes swing and miss and strikeouts. Masa doesn't do that. And he gives you that dimension that you don't have. So in certain situations, it's great if he's up at the plate. But he's not your prototypical DH. And you're just running me down this like rabbit hole of like what happens if they want Bregman to play third. In a perfect world, Bregman's playing third base. Christian Campbell's at second base or Von Grissom. Let them battle it out. Let them see. I think Grissom's still going to hit too at some point. But defensively, I think Christian Campbell's better. And what has killed the Red Sox over the last 2 years? Infield defense and blowing games from the back end of the bullpen. So I would like Bregman at third, Christian Campbell at second. We'll go Costas at first and Rafi at DH. And you just say, you know what, it's just an expensive DH, but our defense is better. And Rafael Devers is going to play 150-plus games because he's off his feet and he's going to stay healthy.
Yeah, and that's what I think. It's if you can cut back the usage on Rafi, a guy that's dealt with a forearm, dealt with a shoulder that went back to last spring training, it was never right. And if you look at it, and you mentioned it, the metrics, I mean, if you want to look at the literal number, Rafael Devers, a .960 fielding percentage at third. That is Alex Bregman with a .972. And you're right. Yeah, it's an expensive DH. But the best part of Rafi's game is his power. The best part of Alex Bregman's game is his defense. And that makes you the best team possible. I like that you bring up Christian Campbell, though, and Von Grissom, because that's where people are going. Well, Christian Campbell at second base. You don't have to rush the kid now. And I think that's what's important.
We also don't know. Like, he had a really good year.
Yeah.
And he
could be an
projects
outfielder.
well. He could be. He very
talented.
well could be. He's very athletic.
Yes.
Very athletic. You do have the option of putting him anywhere on the field. I think he's athletic enough to figure that out.
Yeah.
But, we thought we would lose some of these outfielders in the offseason, and we didn't. Mm-hmm. In the Crochet deal, I thought Abreu would be in that deal. He's still here, which I love Willie Abreu. So who knows what happens throughout the season? Who knows if there's a trade at the deadline, if this team is pushing to bring in an arm, which you look at the depth, which – we haven't really talked about pitching much because obviously this is about Bregman and the offense, but the Boston Red Sox finally have pitching depth, right? Mm-hmm. They bring in Crochet. They got Buehler. Tanner Houck has emerged as a star. Cutter Crawford has shown to be a guy who can cover a ton of innings and give you quality starts. Brian Bayo really in the second half started making some strides to get where they want him to be. I think he's still on the right path and it's going to be a really good arm for this team. But just the depth with the Cooper Criswells, the Richard Fitts, the Quinn Priesters, there's all these guys that are going to be in AAA. And Josh Winkowski. I mean, these guys, there's going to be arms in AAA that are big league arms because there's no room for them. I don't remember the last time the Red Sox have been able to say that, hey, we have legit pitching depth in AAA for when guys go down because, as we said earlier, injuries happen.
Yeah, and I like that you bring up the pitching. I want to get into that. You look at this Red Sox offseason as a whole now to this point. Like, they just broke spring training, and now they're going to add Alex Bregman. They went out and got Garrett Crochet. They add Alex Bregman to the lineup. How do you grade? How do you look at? However you want to assess it. How do you assess this Red Sox offseason now with the additions they've made? And obviously the guys we're projecting that will continue to improve, like the Durans, Rafaelas, and the Casases of the lineup.
Yeah. This is a very successful offseason. I don't know. Do we give it how do you give this grade? It's like
A?
I like A. I'm leaning A. But also it's like you kind of have to wait and see how it works out, right?
Yeah.
You pay a guy $40 million a year, you're going to hope for some really good production out of him, right? You're going to hope Crochet is Crochet, right? Because that was his first year to really throw a lot of innings.
Yes.
Threw 140 innings. But before that, he was a reliever and he was hurt. So how does he bounce back after that? Is there arm issues there? Is there fatigue? Is there, more of a buildup he's got to get to being that ace that you need? Walker Buehler is an interesting one because I love what he brings to the table on the leadership side of things. Obviously, we know how he was in his past. When he came back off his surgery, he didn't look good last year. Until the postseason, until like the NLCS and then the World Series. The World Series, he looked really good. All of a sudden, the sweeper had more bite. He had more command. The fastball velocity jumped up. That could have been adrenaline, but the command was there also. And you start looking at Tommy John guys, the last thing to come is command. You saw it with Ohtani when he came back in 19. You've seen it from a ton of guys coming back. They come back, the velo's there, the pitch shape is there, but they don't really know where it's going yet because you don't have all the feel for those pitches yet after that surgery. Whether it has to do with the nerves, rebuilding the elbow, whatever it is, the command is the last thing to come. So we saw that in the World Series, and you're just thinking, man, I hope that's the guy we get. Because if that's the case, we're looking at a true number 2 for this season at least, and then you have Houck, Bayo, Crawford after that. And It's just like, this could be a really good rotation.
Yeah, you don't need Walker Buehler of 2021. You don't need 200 innings pitched and a sub 2.5 ERA. But if you get 150 innings out of him,
150 in a 4 would
exactly,
be nice.
Exactly. Yes, that 150 number, exactly. And that's where that's a sneaky addition, and it is on a prove it deal for Walker Buehler as well. It's a 1-year deal. He signed with the Red Sox. I want to get back to the young guys coming up. When you bring in an Alex Bregman, let's say he puts him in at second. I love playing these hypotheticals. That's what makes this edition fun, Will. But how important is that effect on when a Christian Campbell is ready, when a Roman Anthony is ready? It's less pressure on those guys. It's no longer 100%. They have to be the answer. And it is more of when they're ready, you can bring them up because you have the guys at the major league level that not just hold it down, get it done where you don't need them as desperately.
Right, yeah. So it does take the pressure off, but in the same breath, you still want to have that conversation with them where it's like, I still want you to push to try to win this job. I want you to have the mentality, even though we do have Alex Bregman, he's going to be our second baseman, Christian Campbell, Vaughn Grisham. I want you guys to go out and ball out, right? You still need to prepare to – you don't know when guys get hit in the face in spring training, hit in the hand. Like, it's baseball. Things happen. You have to be ready. These depth pieces have to be ready. Does Vaughn Grisham want to start in AAA? Absolutely not. Christian Campbell knows he's starting, like, for the most part. Now with Bregman, it's like, you're going to be in AAA. Before Bregman, it's like, okay, this is a dogfight to see who the second baseman for the Boston Red Sox is this year. Not as much now. But to your point, they get to go back to AAA, face high-level competition. They get to marinate a little more at the professional level. These are still young kids, right? Roman Anthony's 20 years old. Like, he's a great athlete, but he needs to continue to get more reps and continue to play 140-plus games. So when he gets to the big leagues, it's not a surprise. He doesn't hit a wall. Christian Campbell, great year last year. Can he duplicate that? Is that who he is, or was it just a crazy year, right? Where he jumped. Obviously, he woke up the baseball world, and everybody knows who he is now, which they should because he's a freak athlete and a really good baseball player. But was that who he is, or was it a really good year? And this year will be very telling of that. But to your point, depth is great.
Yes.
This is great because Trevor Story has an injury history. If Marcelo Meyer is ready and he's doing his thing in AAA, you don't have to take Cedar Rafael out of center field because he needs to play 150 games in center field because he is a Gold Glove center fielder. He has that ability. Leave him in center field. Let him do his thing. Don't make him go back and forth like we saw last year. He has the athletic ability to do so, but you're a better team with him in center field if you have someone to fill in short.
Yeah, and you just think of the lineup depth now where Cedar Rafael chases a lot. He was swinging a lot more first pitches in year 2 than compared to when he first came up, but it takes the pressure off. And in that 9 spot, get on base, and then the front of that lineup comes up. Well, I want to end with this. The Sox have gone 81 and 81 the last 2 years. Craig Breslow was asked, is this a playoff team? He said yes. And I backed him up. I said a wild card spot is in the playoffs. As of now, you see the Red Sox making the playoffs. What do you see as a ceiling? Let me ask that. What do you see as a ceiling for this Red Sox team? Crochet, Bregman, Devers, all of that.
I mean, obviously, what every team will tell you this: health is key, right? If your guys are healthy, if these superstars on this roster are healthy, it's a 90+ win team, and they're in a dogfight for the division with Baltimore and New York. Mm-hmm. You can't count out Toronto; they still have a lot of good players, but they've just underperformed, and they didn't really do a whole lot this offseason. Let's be honest; they swung and missed a lot at free agents. So New York got a lot better. That's scary because they were in a World Series, right? So, adding Devin Williams, adding Max Fried, they still – I'm worried they're going to trade for Arenado now just to kind of get back at us for taking Bregman, right? Like that I feel like they're going to go out and do that because they need a third baseman. They can't keep running DJ LeMahieu out there. That's just not he's past his prime, obviously. But it's going to be a dogfight, man. I think this is a 90-win team. I think I would give them more – I would give them more wins than that, but this division is really tough. Yeah. You got to realize no one's talking about Tampa, but all those arms that they were missing last year are all coming back from injury. The Shane McClanahan, like all those guys are coming back. So, yes, they're playing at the Yankees spring training complex, but that team's going to pitch. And they always pitch, right? Yeah. So Tampa's still going to be a tough team.
Yeah. Hey, 90 wins for the Red Sox. You take that, 86 got into the wild card. I think that's what's big. And we look back on 2021. They got in. They messed around. They got to the ALCS. This city is different when the Sox are making noise in the postseason, and the Sox have made the moves this offseason to make that a legitimate, tangible possibility. He's Will Middlebrooks. Catch him on NESN all the time. You can catch him on, hey, Boston has entered the chat as well, and 310 to left. Will, appreciate you taking the time, man. All the insight, all the perspective, and the excitement. Go enjoy some more bourbon, my friend.
Hey, I'm fired up. Let's go Sox.